writing for Futurama and that getting nominated for that award really opened up a lot of doors after that. Of course, I've been writing for Futurama full time the last 2 years. Well, the last 2 years that we were in production, we're now waiting to see if we get picked up again. But in the meantime, I've done freelance for Kick Buttowski, Teen Titans Go, which is relaunching this summer. I am now writing on a show called Brickleberry. Yeah, exactly. That's my bridge, hopefully my professional bridge between what we did on Futurama and Futurama coming back. I can't really talk about the Transformers because I was told not to. So even though that was promoted, I was told that it's a secret project that I'm supposed to keep under wraps. So I apologize if anybody was here to hear Transformers stuff. But one day, yeah. What else? What can I say? Futurama is I say to everyone I ever meet, is the best writer's room in Hollywood. I think we have the best writers in Hollywood. We definitely have the smartest writers in Hollywood. I would actually pit their brains against anybody's, and I have no doubt that they would smoke anybody in a genius contest. I'm probably the dumbest guy on staff, so I'm bringing down the IQ. But I love working there. If it is over, which I don't think it is. It's been an amazing ride. We have 13 more new episodes that are done for this upcoming summer, so we at least have that. And the episodes are amazing. I think the show is as strong or better than ever. But the fans also let us know if that's not the case. We do listen to you guys. We sometimes we'll go to the fan sites and we'll pay attention to Twitter. I'm on Twitter, so I like to hear back from fans about what they like and they don't like. Because if we're not making the fans happy, then we're not doing our jobs right. You have to be true to the show, and you have to write the show you want to write and produce the show you want to write, I should say. But you definitely have to keep your fan base happy, because the fans, you guys, are the only reason that we've stuck around this long. We should have been gone a long time ago, especially according to 20th Century Fox, or Fox TV, I should say. If it was up to them, we'd be a nice little footnote in history at this point. But thankfully, you guys keep us around by buying the DVDs and watching the show and the toys and all that good stuff. And there's still plenty of that on the way. That's one of the reasons why I think the show is going to come back. There's still lots of goodies that are being produced for the show and for the characters as far as like merchandise goes. So I wouldn't imagine they would keep making that stuff if they didn't think there was still a bit of a future ahead of it. So yeah, that's a little bit of the spiel with Futurama. So if you guys would like to see some stuff that hasn't aired before. There you go.
Nice.
Yay. More surprises await in that one.
Oh, if only we knew. So we're going to go ahead and open it up to Q&A, and I'll just go ahead and start. So when you're writing an episode like that, I don't want to make you go through in depth like what your process is, but how collaborative is the writing process with other folks who are involved with the writing of the show?
It's very collaborative. So when we're writing these episodes, how it works is the team of writers sits around in the writer's room and we pitch out story ideas, and we wait to see what David Cohen latches onto and gets excited about. And then when David gets excited about an idea, he tells Matt. Hopefully they're both excited about it. And if you are so lucky to happen to be the writer who pitched that specific idea, usually that writing assignment goes to you. So at that point, the room, as a team, starts to pitch out the story. We work on the story first. it's been proven time and again that the most effective way to write these shows are to figure out the story top to bottom and get that airtight before you start working on the funny stuff and the jokes. So we'll spend 2 or 3 days getting the story figured out, and then then the writer will go out and write an outline over a couple of days' time. And usually when you're pitching out the story, there are a handful of jokes that are pitched as well. So let's say for this episode specifically, we pitched out the story. I had a handful of jokes that I could take out of the room with me, and then I wrote the outline in a couple days with a smattering of jokes in it. And then you bring the outline back into the writer's room, and then you spend a day on joke pitch, which is basically every scene in the show. We pitch as many jokes as possible, filling up sometimes 15, 20 pages worth of Word document. And then at that point, the writer will go out with his outline, with the showrunner, David's fixes on the outline of the story, plus the jokes, and then you spend a couple weeks writing the script. From that point, you bring the script back into the writer's room, and as a team, we go through the script to start to finish from page 1 and make everything funnier. And that process takes about 4 days to do what we call a pre-table draft. Then we'll spend a day polishing that draft to get it ready for the table read. Then we have a table read, and if the table read goes very well, we spend the day of the table read. We'll spend the rest of that day punching up the script and getting it ready for the record draft. And so, start to finish, to get a show to a record draft takes probably 2.5 to 3 weeks. But then, as time goes on, we have an animatic which comes back about 6 weeks after the record, 8 weeks after the record. We punch that up. We watch the show as an animatic, which, if you guys are familiar with animatics, are basically the storyboards of the show shot frame by frame and edited to look like, basically stop motion, black and white animation. We rewrite that script, fix any problems with the story or jokes. Then the show goes out again for full animation, the full color animation, and then we get that back 4 months later, and we do another pass to punch up anything else that's not working. That takes a day's time. So that's the last draft the team works on together. So that's about an 8-month process, start to finish, from the time we get excited about an idea to the time we have a finished, fully animated show. So,
yeah, there you have it. All right, so I got a question in the back.
Yes.
Futurama has a lot of visual gags where the joke isn't spoken, it's sort of in the drawing. Is that written by the writers, or is that the animators coming back and saying this would be funny if we did this?
Most of the time it's written by the writers, but our animation studio, which is Rough Draft, we have such a great, smart, creative team of directors over there that will add things here and there. They have the leeway, they have the creative freedom to add these things because they're so good. For instance, in this episode, I noticed you guys all got a kick out of when Fry and Leela see the ad and it's showing the things that won't be there at the resort bothering them, and Zoidberg is there with a red slash through his face. That wasn't us, that was them. So things like that they add, which are obviously successful and funny. So, but they have a little bit of leeway to do that, But most of the time we try to write it into the script. But thank God that we have good directors and good animators who bring that extra stuff to the table. So yeah.
We'll go first question and then second question.
It's actually a two-parter.
Okay.
Have you voiced any of the characters?
I haven't voiced any of the characters, but there was an episode that aired in season 6. Let me see if I can. I think it was the Yo Leela Leela episode. If you guys saw that, it was basically our parody of Yo Gabba Gabba, where Leela creates a hit children's show. And there's a sequence in that where we have a network executive played by the character's Abner Doubledeal, and he's showing a group of kids. Basically, he's doing a what do you call it when you test stuff for an audience? My mind is focus group with these kids, and one of the shows he shows them is a show called Popular Slut Club, and auto tuning is very popular. So in the writers' room, they were trying to figure out what this singer's voice should be, and there was Popular Slut Club and things of that nature, or should it be rap, and I auto-tuned it in the writer's room, and I went, Popular Slut Club, like that. And so David goes, oh, you should do it. And I was like, okay. And he just thought it was a temp. And I said, oh yeah, I'll do it as a temp. And it was better than anything. As time went on, it ended up being better than anything else they could find. So it stuck and it aired. And that's my only voice acting to date, is the Popular Slut Club theme song.
Now you have your sack car.
Yeah, not yet. I think I gotta actually have a line. They didn't count that, so.
The second part was, of all your special guests, who did you fanboy out the most for?
Let's see. Well, we got to meet Buzz Aldrin.
Wow.
That was pretty neat, and he's super nice and cool. I'm trying to think, like, who else have I met there that...
You've had a few Star Trek guys.
Yeah, George Takei is a go-to guy for us. He was actually in, he did a guest voice in an episode that I wrote last summer. I wasn't there for the recording of that, but supposedly he's just like the nicest guy ever. I'm sure maybe you've met him. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I love him.
Yeah. Anybody else that I geeked out over? Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. So I'm a huge Beastie Boys fan. And you guys have seen the episode back in season 1, yeah. So Mike D came to LA to actually record that voice, and I freaked out. Yeah, I brought in Rolling Stones to get signed. I brought in a poster. That was my heyday of being obsessed with those guys. So it took everything I had not to kiss him. So.
It's like my typical Friday. All right, so we had another question, and then is anybody else, just so I can get a... Okay.
You talked about animation doing their little things here and there. How many times do you have the cast do improvs that actually make it into the episode?
That happens a lot, actually, pretty much every episode. I mean, using this episode again, when Zoidberg was doing his singing busboy thing, he wasn't a singing busboy in the script. But in the record, he starts doing his la 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 la, Zoidberg singing, and so off of that, Billy West improv. I'm a singing busboy, and we rewrote that on the fly, so that way we could have him. We put that line in and then have Elzar's "No, you're not" response. So so that's definitely an instance of where Billy gets a lot of creative leeway to improv, and John too. I mean, like. Bender, some of the funniest stuff Bender does is, all his noises that he makes. So, with those two specifically, you just kind of, when you hit the record button, you have them say the lines, and then you see what else they bring to the table, and usually it's pretty much gold, So, but sometimes you guys, if anybody's an actor. Sometimes too you have to go, no, okay, come back, pull back, okay, no, you're getting away from us, don't go too far, but that's the beauty of editing too, so, but yeah.
Have you had to do anything significant after they've done something out in the studio where it's caused actual major changes to an episode?
I don't think so. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but yeah.
Maybe in second row.
Have you ever had severe community backlash or audience backlash over something? If so, what was the most severe?
The two episodes. The one episode that actually jumps to mind, which shocked the writers' room that the fans didn't like, was the last holiday trilogy episode, the Futurama Holiday Spectacular that aired a couple Christmases ago. That was one of our 3-part type episodes, and surprisingly, everybody, well, not everybody, but on gotfuturama.com, the fan response is like 39% liked it, which is the lowest rated of all of the episodes that we've aired, and we can't figure out why they didn't like it so much. We thought it was pretty solid. We thought for what we do, it fit the bill, and but for whatever reason, it just made people mad. I thought, you know, we had an episode air this past summer. Our season finale was Naturama. I don't know if you guys got to see that, but it was the Futurama characters reimagined as animals. I helped co-write that one, and I thought it was a really great idea, but at the same time it made me nervous, because when you reimagine these, especially these characters, you know, you can, and you guys, our fan base is rabid. I mean, you guys let us know if you don't like it. You're out there saying, why did you do this? So I thought with that one, we were going to hear it, and that turned out to be one of the more popular episodes of the season. So I go figure, you know. But yeah, that Christmas episode, that still flummoxes me. So,
Do you use like social media or other tools besides just audience ratings to sort of get a sense for how various episodes do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the only one on Twitter, the writers' room, which is funny, because there's a lot of fans on Twitter that are just clamoring for David or Matt or any other writer to you know, I'll take that back. Pretty much all of our actors are on Twitter as well, but they're promoting everything that they do, and you know, they're all working on several different shows. So I like gauging fan interest on things on Twitter, especially during the season when we're airing. I'll promote something and, you know, actively say to someone or say to the fans, tell us what you liked, tell us what you didn't like, and then, you know, sometimes people are very honest and will say, I hated that, and I respect that. I mean, it's like, you know, I'd rather you say that if you say it in an intelligent way. Don't just say, that sucks because you suck, you know, like, okay. But if you can, like, you know, intelligently lay out why, you know, something we didn't work, then I'm all ears, you know, and you know, you take it in and you digest it and say, okay, what can we do better next time? And you know, I'm a low man on the totem pole, so there's only so much I can do. You know, it's not like I can go in and say, hey, Matt, dude, you know, you gotta fix this sinking ship, man. But because God, you know, we all know it's not a sinking ship. But at the same time, you know, every now and then I'll pipe in at the writers' room and say, you know, the fans didn't like this so much, and the guys will listen, and you know, we'll take it or leave it.
And for these fans, your Twitter handle is?
This is really hard to spell, guys. Eric Rogers, LA. So if you need a second to write it down.
So there's a question. You had a question, and then Brandon.
The What If machines are like some of my favorite episodes. Are those like some of the most fun to write? They seem like they would be.
Yeah, definitely. I wish we did more what ifs. We pitch them all the time. Yeah. We David has he's kind of shied away from doing them again. You know, trilogy episodes are so much fun, and they are so fun to write. But I think that holiday episode again, that kind of made us a little gun shy. You know, now that Naturama was well regarded, you know, maybe we'll try to do at least one of those trilogy type episodes per season. The one that we aired at the end of season 6, with the 3 different animation styles, that's the anime portion of that episode is literally, I think, one of the best 7 minutes of writing we've ever done. And I've seen it so many times, and it still cracks me up. So, you know, I love pitching. I love pitching that stuff. And we all do. And as a writer, it's easier. I mean, you know, it's so much easier to figure out a story that's 7 minutes long as opposed to one that's 22. You know, so, you know, we lazily will push hard to try to get those done. But we also understand, you know, that, you know, we don't want to do those all the time, or you guys would get sick of them. So, you know, one per year is usually good enough. So,
And Futurama's had a few episodes that have sort of ended on a more melancholy note. How are those written? Are they written the same way, or is there like a different?
Yeah, they are. I mean, those episodes are few and far between, because it kind of goes to the what if episode theory of less is more, and if we do too many of those, you guys will, you won't, I mean, you don't want to watch the show to get bummed out every week, you know. It's funny, you know, Jurassic Park is, to me, one of the best half hours of comedy ever written, but it's got such a sad ending. And I think that episodes like that are really powerful, and you just have to pick your moments with those. You know, you don't want to get the audience too weepy all the time, you know, there's only so many character stories that you can do that with on our show anyway. Like, you know, we may or may not have something like that airing this summer, so I don't want to give too much away, but you'll have to watch to see.
But seriously, like, at what point in the process was some jerk at the table like, you know what would be really awesome? A 10-minute montage of this dog crying for, like, ever. If I'm not mistaken, that's all David Cohen. I think David was a huge proponent of that episode of the Fry loses his dog story, and when your boss is the jerk who does that, you just go, yep, okay, we're all aboard, sir, and then you see the final product and you're like blown away. So yeah, it was a great episode.
Yeah, it really was.
Any other questions from the audience?
I'm wondering how you indicate jokes that are like timing dependent, like the bowling ball falling on Zoidberg's head.
Sure. What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, I mean, you say like 3 bowling balls fall, and then there's a 2-second pause, and then 2 more bowling balls fall, and then.
Like how do we figure that out?
How do you write that out as a reference?
You know, so like for that sequence specifically, you just basically say Zoidberg is standing in front of a rack of bowling balls for no good reason. The entire rack falls on him. After a beat, 1 more ball falls and hits him in the head. I mean, literally, it's that simple. And the show, I think, one of the fun things about writing for the show is that we do those gags. You know, it's the whole Wile E. Coyote, Bugs Bunny sort of deal. So you know, and Zoidberg is I think our favorite to have that stuff happen to. So yeah, but yeah, it's that simple. Yeah.
Richard?
When it comes to time travel and paradoxes, do the writers ever have disagreements?
Yes. Remember, I don't know if were you here the whole time for this, or did you come in late?
I came in.
Okay, no, I was just saying earlier, I'm like the dumb guy on the staff. So sometimes when those time travel arguments take place, I just sit back and watch. Because I figure that's my time to like learn some things from these, you know, physicists and mathematicians that are on our staff. Like literally, the guys on our staff all have half our staff have like masters in physics and math and all that. And David Cohen and Ken Keeler specifically, when it comes to those types of episodes, they're our brains, and they can talk stuff out and figure it out between them, and the rest of us just kind of go, oh, okay, they're nodding and they're happy, so I think the rest of us will just go along for this ride and it'll all work out. I don't know if did you guys see the Prisoner of Benda episode, the Body Mind Switch episode from a couple years back? Ken Keeler actually wrote a math. What's the word I'm looking for? My brain is fried today. No. Equation. Thank you. Remember how I said I was a dumb guy? So Ken literally wrote an equation breaking down the 6 characters, how their bodies and minds would switch. And he actually, we have a white erase board in the back of our writer's room, and he wrote it out and you know, spent like half a day, not even half a day, maybe 2 hours, going back and forth to it, erasing things, putting the A, B, C, D, E all over the board, you know, and it's quite fun to watch Ken do his thing when he does that, because you can see the mad genius at work, and when he's happy with it, it's really fun because you know it works. So that episode specifically was a fun sciencey time travel-y, you know, that even though there wasn't time travel involved, that sort of like really science specific type thing that was going on. That was yeah, again, you know, just you watch the guys who are the smartest guys in the room do their thing, and then you go, okay, cool, we got this. Let's just follow their lead. So yeah.
Do you guys have like LAN parties together, or other nerdy outings, or
No, the
gamings?
writers' room is as nerdy as we get. You know, you know, when you work in a writer's room on these shows, you spend sometimes 10, 12, 14 hours a day together, and when the day is over, you usually just are like, okay, yep, don't need to see you again for a while, you know, until the next morning. And even though a lot of the guys on our show are friends, but you know, you definitely, at the end of the day, you know, if you spend 14 hours with anybody, you're like, okay, I need a break, you know. But then you're back at it again, you know, 10 hours time. So yeah, you gotta, and that's one of the secrets, I think, of successful shows in Hollywood. So, comedies specifically, I think the shows that are the best and that are the funniest are probably the writers' rooms that like each other the most. Because if you don't like each other, you're not gonna write good comedy. So I think we're very lucky in the sense we have a group of people that really enjoy working with each other and are really good guys.
Okay, any other questions really quickly? All right, perfect. 1 and 2.
Obviously, these are very voice acting centric questions, but curious if any of the cast ever approaches you guys with pitches for story ideas, and if they ever actually make it.
You know, I think that our cast has pitched ideas.
Are they ever any good?
I think they are. I don't know if I can't think of offhand of if we've done any, but I could be dead wrong about that because David Cohen also directs our records, and it very easily could have been somebody, John or Billy or somebody at one of our records said, hey, you know, it would be fun if we did this, and then David brought that back to the writers' room and we ran with it. So that may have happened. I just can't think of a situation off the top of my head where it did.
I can only imagine what ideas Billy West would.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, Billy's ideas probably are more along the lines of don't make me do 75 voices in this episode. So we're like, no, you have to. You're awesome, please. Yeah.
Brandon?
Was it fun coming back after the break?
You mean between being on Fox and being on Comedy Central?
Yeah.
It's been awesome. And Comedy Central is a dream to work with. They, what's awesome about Comedy Central is they leave us alone. They never give notes. They show up for table reads and they go, great job, keep it up. And that is such a fun way to produce television. When people just trust your vision and aren't there to try to muck it up with making their influence felt. It's like I think Comedy Central understood when they picked it up, this show is what it is, and they loved it for that reason, and they weren't going to mess with it for that reason, and they haven't, and they're awesome for it. But that's not to say, that I'm not. If anybody's recording this, I'm not saying executives don't do their jobs great. I love you, executives. Please buy my next show that I pitch to you when I see you next in LA. But yeah, it's been an amazing ride. That's why if it doesn't get brought back, it's going to be very sad, because we're all operating under the assumption that it will. We kind of don't know why they wouldn't keep it going, but yeah, I think if we do hear that they're not moving forward with it, we're all just going to be like, oh man. So yeah.
Any other questions? I had one that's a good segue, because I want to do a little bit of talking about your work in comics as well.
Okay, yeah.
So just, in terms of writing for Futurama comics or the Simpsons comics,
Yeah.
How's the process different? Is it still collaborative? Is it sort of more one-off?
Yeah, no, very much solo work. With Bongo, what happens is my editor there is Nathan Kane. Formerly it was Bill Morrison. And what I would do for Bill and Nathan is I would send out a bunch of ideas in kind of like 2-sentence springboards and say, what if Bender had a baby, not that, but and if you get lucky, they say, yeah, we like that. Go ahead and go write an outline for it. And that is completely on the writer to nail. And it's fun and freeing, but it's also scary because there's a luxury of knowing that you can bring a script into the writer's room when you're working on a show and know that you have an awesome team of funny people that are going to make it even better. So with the comics, it's really you on display and your voice, and I admit I have not nailed it sometimes with the comic books. There are some of those issues of Futurama comics I go back and look at and I'm like, oh man, geez, I should get my payback for this one. But then there are other times when I think I did nail it. So it just it depends. But it is the writer solely, and then your editor, my editor Nathan, he makes the final call on changes before it gets published, like any good boss. So yeah, but.
So how do you split your time in terms of, I'm assuming when you're working on a season of Futurama, you're not writing comics, but otherwise do they approach you? Do you just sort of think of ideas for The Simpsons that you just want to?
During the season, I'm not aggressive about sending my ideas to Bongo, simply because I know how limited my time is. But if I think of a good idea, I'll write it down and then I'll just put it away on a Post-it or whatever. And then when unemployment comes and you're not working on a show, then suddenly I'm Bongo's worst nightmare, because then I'm like, hey, I had 45 ideas on Post-it notes, and here they all are, and they're good sports because I know I must drive Bongo nuts with when they know when I'm unemployed, because then they go, oh, okay, great, here's a huge email from him with a bunch of ideas, but luckily this time around when Futurama went on its hiatus, they approved 4 ideas. So I have 4 Futurama comics coming out this year, which is fun because it allows me to keep doing the Futurama thing while we're not in production. So it's fun.
Do you ever see a show that you like so much you get excited about different animation shows that you want to write for?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Archer, I think, is amazing. Archer is a show that when Futurama's done, I would kill to write for. I won't kill really. Maybe it depends on the person. No, I'm kidding. What's that now?
Writers write for different shows, or?
I'll give you an example. I'll show myself. Right now, I'm staffed on Brickleberry, but it's built into my contract that I can freelance. So I'm doing some work for Disney. I might or may not be doing work for something else that was hyped before I walked in this room. The brochure. It's about roulette. So yes, you can. Usually they like to. The network that you're working for likes to lock you into your contract and say you can't do anything else. But that's usually a staff writer thing, and I've gone through that. They want you focused on your first major job, and as well you should be focused on it because it is your first big job in Hollywood, and you should be putting all your time and effort into that. But at a certain point, once you start to get pretty good at it, you can go, okay, I can divvy up my time and find pockets here and there where I can write other things. So that's kind of what I'm doing with Brickleberry, and I couldn't do that with Futurama though, because I was a staff writer there. So it was all Futurama all the time.
You have time for basically one more question. So.
You'd be interested in working in like a
There was
sitcom
one. It was
or
actually.
something?
That's okay. We can do 2. We'll do 2. It's totally fine.
We'll do it quick. I'll talk fast.
How do you get a job inside the writer's room?
I got lucky. No, I honestly, I'll say this really quickly. In 1997, I had been working on dramas. I had been working on a show called Murder One as a PA, which was my first job in Hollywood. I was there for 2 years, and then I spent a brief amount of time as a script coordinator on a show called Total Security, which only lasted 13 episodes. But when I was a script coordinator, I learned how to be a writer's assistant because it basically forced me to learn Final Draft and learn how to type really fast. So between Total Security and which was the December of '97 I got canceled, and May of '98 I didn't do anything for 6 months, and I had reached a point where I was done and I was going to leave the industry, and I had my resume out and about in the world, and I got a call out of the blue by Matt Groening's assistant saying he's got a new show. And it's like The Simpsons, and would you like to work on it? Or would you like to come in and interview to work on it? And 1997, who doesn't, or 98, who doesn't say they want to come work with Matt Groening, at the height of his superpowers? So, I went in for the interview, and I still to this day don't know how they got my resume. I don't know. I don't know how it fell into their hands, but I got the writer's assistant job, and the rest is history. So that is extreme luck. I am very lucky to be sitting here because of that. That job is why I'm here going blah, 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 blah.
Like a Zoidberg. Okay, Brandon, last question.
So you've been doing animation for a long time now. Do you have any desire to ever go back into live action, or sticking with animation?
No, yeah, absolutely. I actually have a live action pilot that's being shopped around right now. I also I like to write films, and I optioned this book called Men of Tomorrow, which is about the creators of Superman, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, and their struggle when they signed away the rights to Superman back in the comic books golden era. How they realized they made a bad deal and then spent 40 years trying to fix it. It's a really fantastic, amazing story. And I've been pitching it as the social network for the comic book industry, because it really does entail how Superman led to the comic book industry becoming what it is today. So it's a pretty cool story for our time. We're just Warner Brothers scares people because they own the rights to Superman, and no one's sure if they're going to be friendly enough to let us, use the Superman image. It's hard to tell a story about the creators of Superman without Warner Brothers saying you can use his name and some of his image. So we're figuring that out. It's got interest, but again, it's this Warner Brothers shadow is kind of freaking people out. So we'll see what we can do with it. It's a pretty amazing story, and hopefully it'll see the light of day. And that's a live action film. That's a live action drama, actually. So, yeah.
Okay, I think I just want to close with sort of a quick, I'm sure everybody asked me to name your favorite episode, and it's probably really hard. So how about like a top 3 or 4 that you did not write?
Okay. That I did not write? What? No, I'm kidding.
Because of course we've all memorized the episodes that he wrote, right? For the channel in preparation.
Course, yeah. Top 3, I'd say going back to the Beastie Boys meeting Mike Diamond, the Hell's Other Robots. I love Prisoner of Benda, and tie between Jurassic Park and Roswell as well. Those all have a soft place in my heart. So.
All right, everybody, let's give him a round of applause.